A lot of Toyota truck fans forget that this base SR Tundra even exists. We all get wrapped up in the TRD Pros, the Platinums, the 1794s, the SR5s, but this base SR grade might be the absolute bargain of the Toyota Tundra pickup truck lineup. Today I'm going to tell you what it's been like to live with this week. I've been taking my kids to school back and forth. I'll share all the good, the bad, and after we're done driving it and reviewing it today, we're going to head back into the office to see if there are any deals on the base SR Tundra to be had, and we're also going to rank it. Is this a good pickup truck? Should you even consider the base SR, or do you need more power for towing? All that stuff, we're going to tackle that today. Underneath the hood of the good old Toyota Tundra, you know, this generation discontinued the V8, so it's only available with a twin turbo V6, 3.44 liters. No, this one's detuned a little bit, and it's similar, I guess, if you look at the Tacoma. The base Tacoma has a detuned turbocharged 4-cylinder. This twin turbo V6, and I am human, so I don't always remember these numbers, but this one comes at 358 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. Of course, this is rear-wheel drive. You can get in 4x4. And I'm seeing about actually 20 to 21 miles per gallon as my family hauler, school picker-upper and dropper-offer. It's been quite fantastic actually on fuel economy. Now if you upgrade to the SR5 and other trims, you get 389 horsepower, so about 30 horsepower more, but you get 70 more pound-feet of torque on something like an SR5. So 479 pound-feet of torque in most other Tundra grades. Now, there's of course the hybrid, which has 437 horsepower and almost 600 pound-feet of torque, but surprisingly this does tow over 8,000 pounds. I think this is going to be a great towing truck, and just a great basic truck for point A to point B sort of transportation, especially when I'm seeing fuel economy that's not that much worse than something like a 4-cylinder turbo Tacoma. Even though it's a base grade, we do have hood struts in here. It is mated to a 10-speed auto. I did forget to mention that. And all-wheel drive for 4x4 is a $3,000 option here. All right, this truck can be had for around $50,000 the way I equipped it online. This one, of course, has some doodads on it from the distributor and my dealer, such as window tent, side steps, that sort of thing. And there's a little Texas-born. This is built in San Antonio. There's a little Texas-born logo there to remind you this is an American truck. So let's close the hood to discuss the front end of the truck. I'm not a big fan of the Tundra's front end. The Tacoma looks a lot better. I think most of you agree. I mean, heck, the Sequoia, which is built on the same platform and the same assembly lines in San Antonio, has a much more handsome front end. However, this SR grade just has a black bezel here, and since this has the midnight black metallic or whatever it's called, actually looks halfway decent with the black on black. Matte black here on the inside, huge Toyota logo, Tundra stamped there, you know, no fog lights there. Do we have recovery points? Nope, that's a sticking point for a lot of Tundra people out there. You actually do have a base skid plate under there. It's not as fancy as a TRD Pro, for example. All right, these headlights and daytime running lights, well, there really aren't daytime running lights here. They're just the headlights on, which act as your daytime running light. This little piece, I mean, it's just not nearly as fancy as what you would see on a TRD Pro, a Limited, a Platinum with the upgraded headlights, but honestly, I think it still looks decent in the headlight area. This needs some reworking. The smaller the wheel, the better on a pickup truck, in my opinion. These are the smallest wheels you can get on the Tundra for the factory. I think the TRD Pro, TRD Off-Roads also have 18-inch wheels. So these are 18-inch wheels. These are optional, like little wheel covers here. I think these would just pull off. I don't want to do that because this has to go back to the dealers. Speaking of which, special thanks to my local dealer, Germain Toyota of Naples. This is their truck. They're letting me review it for you guys this week. And also thanks to my distributor, Southeast Toyota, for hooking us up as well. All right, I like that we have some wheel arch liners in here to cut down on NVH and too much like dirt and mud spraying up into the underbody of the truck. Let's go ahead and check out the side. This is the Crew Max, which has the full 4 doors. Of course, you can get the shorter cabin. I always forget what it's called. You can hear those optional running boards, which have been an absolute lifesaver for my little kids getting into it. So if you have little kids getting into this truck, these are about $1,000, absolutely worth their weight in gold. Pretty basic mirrors, no turn indicators here. Just matte black mirrors as well. They don't look too out of place, you know, on this black painted Tundra. On the back of the Tundra, nothing fancy. Got a little backup camera integrated into, you know, your handle here. Hitch receiver, again, 8,300 pounds towing. Here's your electrical connections for your trailers. Big spare tire under there, solid rear axle with this generation. It says 4x4, again, that $3,000 option. There are mosquitoes all over. I need to be quick. This has an optional spray and bed liner, which is a few $100. We'll go and put it on the screen. I think that's an absolute must. I think you guys would also, most of you would agree with that as well. A few recovery points, or not recovery points, but accessory hook points here. We got some built-in cleats, so if you wanted to run some like a cleat system in here, that's pretty nice. But nothing fancy like a plug-in to plug in your accessories through AC power, nothing like that. Now, if you get the shorter cabin, you can actually get the longer bed as well here on this SR grade. And notice that we have a brake light up there at the top of the window too. And there's no slidey window in the back, nothing fancy there. All right, let's get into this back seat. Again, like this step here, a handle here as well. Huge amounts of leg room. I mean, this is set up for me at 6 foot. Gotta love full-size pickup trunks. I have some, I think they're distributor installed USBs down there. I'll go and put on the screen what those cost. Got some vents back here, which is standard, really, really nice. Real basic back door here. At least the armrest is somewhat soft, but pretty cheap materials. I have a carpet lined floor in the back here, little rubber gasket down there for your cell phone. No armrest back here. You can fold these seats down as well. Just one mat pocket, but honestly, great headroom. A little hook here for, I don't know if you wanted to put your button-up shirt here, pretty standard stuff, and some map lights. But honestly, it's very basic back seat, but it's been super great getting kids in this week, not only because of the step. Once they're in there, they have so much room for their backpacks. It's almost like minivan-like in terms of functionality. I just don't have that third row. I guess the Sequoia has that third row, but the Sequoia doesn't have this sort of roominess that I can remember. Materials aren't that great here in the Tundra SR. I'm not expecting them to be, but these cloth seats have been very comfortable this week. I have had no issues with comfort. Steering wheel, it's not leather wrapped, but honestly, it hasn't bothered me. It's been one of the nicer plastic steering wheels I've tested in a while. You know, my daughter, when she was in the front seat, she noticed that there was no vanity mirror or any lights here with the visor. No auto dimming rearview mirror, manually dimming. We got the smaller 7-inch screen here that you see on like a Camry, for example, instead of the big 14-inch massive honker. I think this looks fine. It's integrated in the dash quite well. The vents are fantastic. The AC in here has been amazing this week. Volume knob right here, right off the steering wheel. Now, gosh, what was I in? I was in a RAV4 last week, and the RAV4's climate is what should be in here. I don't like so much. It's fine that it's physical. All right, I shouldn't be complaining because at least I have physical control of the climate control, and it is auto. It's not dual zone. It's single zone climate control, but I just prefer the rotary dials. It's so much easier instead of, you know, smashing this a bunch of times with the fan control. Having a rotary dial is just so much better. I don't know why it couldn't have been implemented here on the Tundra instead of these switches, but it's not a deal breaker. I'll take these switches over climate control baked into the touchscreen. Just a small 4-inch screen over here, really easy to play with. This is an old Toyota screen that's been around for a long time, basic, simple, and not frustrating whatsoever. Just really, really easy to work with. I have an analog tachometer, analog speedometer, analog oil temperature, I think is what it is, as well as an analog battery voltage, even analog coolant temperature, and analog fuel gauge there. I do have the start-stop feature in here, and man, that's where like the hybrid, I know the hybrid costs way more than this, 20 grand more than this truck. The start stop in here is pretty rough. I just turned it off, and this twin turbo V6 does not actually idle very smoothly. Not nearly as smooth as Toyota's naturally aspirated V6 is, and this was the case also back when this Lexus engine, or this engine debuted in a Lexus LS 500. It just has never idled very smoothly. I don't know if it's just this dynamic force family of engines that have a really long stroke to them. It has great torque, but you know, when you're sitting here at idle, I feel it through the seat. It's just not very refined in that regard. All right, but we'll talk about how it drives here in a little bit. A little USB-A in the dash, no USB-Cs up front, no wireless charger. I have a USB-C underneath the armrest area with a slidey tray. I can pick up this big old armrest, tons of space in there, even a coin slot, a little light in there too, I think. You know, it's really, really functional, easy to work with. Here's my 4-wheel drive control right here. Big chunky shifter, a little bit of glossy black. You know, I haven't been blinded once this week, so it's not that big of a deal. Auto brake hold as well. I have standard radar cruise control, lane keep assist, auto high beams, auto lights in general. The LE RAV4 that I was in last week did not have auto headlights. This does have intermittent windshield wiper setting, which I really appreciate, something that the RAV4 didn't really have last week. I don't have blind spot monitor on this truck, and I don't think it's an option on this grade. I think you have to go to the SR5, and that might be a deal breaker for a lot of people. I don't mind it. I don't have blind spot monitor on my vehicles. I've gotten used to it, but if you're towing, maybe that would be an extra benefit, because I believe the blind spot monitor does work in conjunction with the towing system. All right, so anyways, let's go and start driving this base SR Tundra. Now, if you guys want to see the options on this truck, I know there's a glare from the light, but there's a lot of options from the distributor and my dealer combined. As a total, there's $3,400 plus $1,000, so $4,400 in options added. Some of them are really nice options, like floor mats. I wouldn't mind paying for those. Spray and bed liner, $700. The step bar, $1,000. I think that's worth it. The USBs back there, $179, maybe not. Screen protector, $129. No way. You can get them for $15 online and put it on yourself. USB cable package, $80. Sorry, I'm not paying for that. That's just me. Window tint, absolutely $250. I think that's a good deal for a solid window tint. And it does come with ceramic paint protection for $7.99. I think that's important on this black paint. If you had a white paint that's, you know, reflects a lot of the heat in the sun, maybe not that big of a deal, but I'll let you guys talk down below what you think might be worth it with these options. Now, I forgot to mention the materials here on the front door are a little bit better than the ones back there. I have at least soft touch here on the top, and maybe a little bit more padding on the armrest compared to the armrest in the back. I wouldn't say it's super comfortable in here, but I really like this seat. Yes, the seat is manual and it's only tilt. The seat does not have vertical raising or lowering with the cushion or anything like that. This seat does not have, and that might be a problem if you're short, since you can't, I haven't found a way to raise this seat. Yeah, I do feel like I sit up pretty high in here because I can't lower this seat, but honestly, I get used to it. Visibility, I mean, the windows are big on the sides. I have good visibility out the back, but the windshield on, this isn't just the SR grade, it's all grades. All right, the windshield on the Tundra is pretty small. Okay, so not the greatest visibility. Ride quality this week, it's a bit bumpy, and you notice it the first time you get in, but afterwards, you just get used to it. And I think that means that it's perfectly acceptable ride quality. And maybe that changes when you start putting bigger wheels on the Tundra. I'm not quite sure. But I like how this truck feels. It feels real trucky. The steering this week has been it's pretty numb. The truck handles well. It's the long wheelbase, right? It feels super stable when you throw it through a turn. But many of you guys, you know, and the brakes, they get in the brakes. Brakes are so good here. I love the brake feel here. And that should bring some reassurance if you plan on towing with this base SR. But many of you want to know about this powertrain. There's a Camaro pulled out in front of me. that was like half pedal down. I mean, I know on paper it doesn't have the full 479 torque or the 380 horsepower, but I haven't once needed anywhere close to full pedal this week. I haven't floored it once. It has all the power and torque, at least when you're not pulling anything, to keep up with traffic. It's been a pretty quiet truck this week. You know, I'm listening for this Chevy go by me, and they're gonna just weave in through Toronto. They're gonna hit their brakes. No, I don't know what they're gonna do. Yeah, they're weaving. Anyways, it's been a quiet vehicle this week. I've been happy with just the ride quality. Like I said, it gets a passing grade, is fine. And I remember like driving the Capstone Tundra and remembering that being too stiff. It's not too stiff in here, okay? It's firm but still comfortable. It's quiet in here, and I don't have the acoustic glass of something like the Capstone. You know, it's a pretty decent truck overall. It's just not the most, it's not gonna have any bells and whistles, but it has everything that I think most people could want besides blind spot monitor. That might be a deal breaker. This small screen, no problem. The bass sound system sounds pretty good. AC has been ice cold this week. Tons of space for the kids. You know, it can tow if you want it. And I know a lot of people just buy this base one and it's their little towing mule for their boats and campers and things like that. So, you know, I don't have anything bad to say about the Tundra. I don't have really anything great about it to say about it either. You know, it's just a very purpose-built sort of vehicle. All right, but it can, you know, it can do double duty as a family hauler and a camper hauler. All right, so it has that functionality with this big cabin and larger rear doors and rear space back there. I mean, this Tundra does not move any needles in terms of passion or excitement, but man, it just does everything really, really well. It's just, it's a very good truck overall. Good brakes, good handling, great powertrain. Even though it's down on power, I still love this powertrain. I don't feel like I'm missing anything from other Tundras I've driven. All right, I just wish, you know, it wasn't, you know, the start-stop feature wasn't so abrupt turning on and off. I know that's all fixed on the hybrid, but if you're watching this vehicle, you're probably not interested, or you don't have the budget to shell out an extra 20-30 grand for the hybrid versions of the Tundra. This is just a fantastic truck, smooth, quiet, powerful, and very accommodating. Looking at my area for some Tundras, and we're gonna specifically look at the base SR grade. All right, let's see how they're apportioning the trim levels here. About 50 1794s, about 80 limiteds, about 46 platinums. SR5 is by far the highest. It makes sense to me at 257 available. And then the base SR is very limited in availability. Okay, so let's go and see what we can get some base SRs for. I know my local dealer has one for under 50K. It's the crew. It was very much like the one I drove today, 4x4 Crew Max, whatever. So I mean, we're seeing well, with the shorter door versions, you're seeing them for about 46. Let's make sure we're getting 4x4 here. Rear wheel drive, there's only 4, so very rare. Even in Florida, it's very rare to have rear wheel drive. All right, so we're seeing about 46, so about 2-3 grand off of MSRP. I think 46 is a really good buy for how much truck you're getting. It's not the fanciest truck, man. It looks so much better in black with this black shiny bezel grille. Yeah, it looks so much better. And you can always swap your wheels out for something good. I mean, these base wheels are real dorky, but yeah, the black truck looks real nice. Okay. This is the one, pretty much we saw today, drove today. They got one at the dealership for 48K, down from 51 MSRP. I think it's a great deal. All right. So the start-stop feature on it is not the greatest. I just disable it, but then you're reminded by the slightly rough idle. Those are really the only two major annoyances I had with living with the truck. I said it's a bit ugly, but I like how it looks black on black there with the model I had today. So basic but solid truck, powerful and smooth, easy to live with.
where's it going to end up on the spreadsheet? Well, I haven't reviewed that many trucks so far this year. All right. The Silverado is the last full-size truck that I remember reviewing. That's different. I mean, that would have been more of like a TRD Pro competitor. And the V8 in it was fantastic. And that's the bigger V8 that they offer, not the 5.3. And yeah, would I say this is a better truck? No, because it's not aiming to be the same sort of truck a Trail Boss is. This is a basic, solid work truck. I see it pretty much as a work truck. I just see it somewhere in B as well. Okay, it's just a solid buy. It's not, like I said, it's not an emotional buy. This is a completely rational buy. What goes through the mind of this buyer's head is like, okay, it has all the towing capacity I need and more. It's coming from a respectable company in Toyota. I like this truck. It's built in America. It has all the features I could want. Blind spot monitor, be damned. All right. Like, it's just not, it's not a luxury truck. I'm happy Toyota offers this base SR grade. Good safety features besides blind spot monitor, good engine, good twist, smooth running powertrain, and smooth running vehicle when you're not idling. So it's a good truck. Ice cold AC. I should probably put that. That always makes me happy as I move my good AC. That goes a long ways here. Also good fuel economy, right? I wasn't expecting 20 to 21 mpgs. I'll put 20 mpg though. So good truck. I'll see you guys in the comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned for more Toyota stuff. Peace.